Silence is fool's gold. A fool believes he has found treasure in keeping to himself and not getting involved, yet that is exactly how I got hurt. I was 13 when a senior boy started sitting next to me on the bus, more and more each week. Eventually, he began digging in my gold mine, hoping that he'd strike rich. But he never did. I was too young to understand what was happening, but all I knew is that I didn't like what he was doing. All I knew is that girl from choir class would always try to look over the seat to see what he was doing, and when he'd get off the bus, she'd glare at him. But she never stood up for me. She never gave me a voice. I believe silence is something most of the population was taught growing up. Don't tattletale, don't make a scene, don't make something bigger than it is, and don't you dare cry. I was 17 when I went on my senior trip. On the way back home, I sat next to a male friend of mine and we laughed the entire ride. 20 minutes out, I felt extremely tired and I asked to lay on his lap. He said okay, so I did. Soon after I fell asleep, I slowly started waking up to the feeling of something crawling on my hip, on my thigh, on my butt, and I grabbed his hand and got up. He pretended to be asleep, and I pretended to not be upset. I didn't want to get him in trouble. We were about to graduate, and I was about to vomit. I believe silence is taking the side of the oppressor, because during acts of injustice, a neutral party is actually taking the side of the oppressing party, since the oppressor now has one less screaming mouth to deal with. I was 18 when I went to a family party. There was an older man there who kept undressing me with his eyes, all the while staring at my chest. When I began dancing with a friend, he stole me away, asked my father if he could dance with me, and then began brushing upon me. I looked at my dad with eyes of terror. How could he let this animal touch me? I ran upstairs crying and stayed there for hours until my mother came to find me. When I told her how he made me feel, she said, "Did he touch you down there? No? Then what are you crying about?" I believe silence is fear. Silence is confusion. Silence is misunderstanding. Silence is a state of mind. I was 19 when I was raped by a boy that I really liked. I was a virgin, and he was frustrating me by not listening to my pleas to stop. So I just figured, this is how the cookie crumbles. This is how sex is, unsatisfying, unbelievably painful, and all about the man. He didn't care how hard I was trying to push him off of me. I was a prize to be won, a piece of meat to be eaten, a pussy to be grabbed. And he was a man that was idolized, admired, and loved by many. So I was lucky to have him so attracted to me, right? It took me a year to understand what had happened to me. And then another year to realize that silence isn't golden. My voice is.